This video is what does it mean that Jesus is our Savior? And in order to answer that question, I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. I'm going to read an essay or an account written by someone else. And this account was written by Uren, who is a high school senior. I don't know if she's a girl or if he's a boy. I may just refer to Uren as a girl, but I don't know. Anyway, Uren is a high school senior from Nigeria, and she writes about the day that her village and her family was attacked by extremists. And I just want to say at the outset that this is rough stuff. Some of this stuff is going to be difficult to hear. But if we want to understand what it means that Jesus is our Savior, I think we need to look at humanity as it really is. So here we go. And there are little sections of what she's written that I may omit, but I'm going to read mostly just what she's written. They say the world only burns when the fire reaches your doorstep. Otherwise, it is just another spectacle, far off smoke, a sound you can sleep through. It's all right, they say, to watch the flames of violence swallow others, so long as they don't swallow us, so long as the ash does not settle on our roofs. Some even say it is acceptable if it is our own doing the burning, and the silence is justified. The gain is holy. But what happens when the flame forgets its lane? It will. It always does. In Bocos, we farm potatoes, maize, and whatever the land agrees to yield because that is what we know best. That is how we survive. Occasionally we trade, but it is the land that feeds us. During a recent weekend, my people enjoyed our annual festival. People came from all over. Not because everything was all right, but because the festival gave us strength. It reminded us that we are still here. We are still alive. And even though we keep losing people to violence, we cannot stop living. Besides, we know everyone will die someday. On Wednesday morning, before the sun rose, my mother reminded me that we needed to head to the farm early before the heat turned cruel and drained our energy. There is always work to be done on the farm, come rain, come sun, dry or green. Life in our village follows that rhythm. For some reason that morning I woke to the weight of Oswald Mischali's Nightfall in the Soweto pressing heavily on my chest. Mr. Marlowe, our literature teacher, painted it vividly when he taught the poem. Feel it, he said. Poetry is meant to be felt. I felt it all right. The fear. The dusk was falling like judgment. I felt it because it was no longer just poetry. It was no longer Soweto. It was Plateau. It was Bocos. It was home. It was real. My classmate told me that in their village, Josho, even in Gonda and Manguna, they no longer sleep at night. The men and the boys had started spending the night in trees like hunted animals. They went up there not to fight. They were to act as sirens, human alarms. When the raiders came, they were the voices screaming, "Run!" And the raiders, they always came. In our history class, Mrs. Moffwell told us that once upon a time invaders galloped in on horses with spears, bows, and arrows slicing through the air with ancient rage. Today they arrive on iron horses, humming death, and machines that spit fire and thunder. They come knowing they will not be stopped. They come knowing their mission has been carved into the silence of complicity. They come, they slaughter, they leave, and they come again. Their faces are not hidden, their names are whispered, their language portrays who they are, yet somehow They remain unknown. That Wednesday, they walked into our mornings as we worked on the farm. My mother, father, 5 siblings, and I cleared the land so we could plant soon. We were engrossed in tearing up weeds with calloused hands and brushing the earth off our feet when we heard the buzzing of motorbikes, many of them, and the cracking of gunfire all around. It was loud and close, a rhythm now too familiar. First by night, now in broad daylight, a group of attackers was moving in on our village and the nearby villages too. We froze, not knowing what to do. Big black clouds of smoke began rising. Houses were burning. We saw people running, screaming. Although it wasn't near us yet, the land was flat. We could see everything. We were certain the attackers had seen us. One cannot hide easily out there. My mother's face twisted. "Home," she whispered, and broke into a run. But my father ran after her and held her back. She began to shiver. My children," she said as tears welled up in her eyes. My 2 younger sisters were at home. One was sick, the other was left there to look after her. The ground where my mother stood turned wet. She had urinated on herself out of fear. The sky was no longer blue. It had become a sheet of thick black smoke. In the distance, homes coughed fire and people ran like ants from an overturned nest. Screams scattered in the wind. The attackers chased those who ran toward our farm. They were coming. We had been seen. The land offers no cover here. It is flat and wide. It betrays you. My father's mind raced faster than the bikes. He pointed to a narrow hole. The opening was wide enough for us to squeeze through, and we did. We did not ask what was inside. We did not think where it would lead. We just entered. We smelled the damp scent of death all around us. We squeezed in, my siblings and I, while my parents and one of my brothers covered the hole with dry leaves and grass. They stayed outside. There was no room for all of us. From that tiny breath hole I watched. The men on bikes came, 5 of them. With their guns slung carelessly around them, they chose to use knives instead. Long, rusted, personal. They circled my parents and brother like wolves around tired prey. They chanted a God is great prayer to a God they no longer feared. And then they cut whatever their razors could reach. Blood was everywhere. My father begged, his voice cracking like old wood. My mother shrieked as they cut, and they cut again. They struck my brother down with the butt of a gun. "Soon you are all gone," they shouted in Hausa with a Fulani accent. Then more chants of God is great, and more bikes revving in the distance. Their glee was carried by gunshots and war cries as they made their way to join the others. And then there was silence, except for my mother's sharp and soul-piercing wail. She crawled to my brother's lifeless body and pulled it close. My father just sat there, blood pooling around him. His eyes were vacant. He was staring like he could see a world we could not. I could not take it anymore. I blacked out. My young mind had given up. When I finally came to, I learned that my father had died. My 2 sisters who were left at home were slaughtered with knives. My mother was still in shock. We saw the assailants and what they looked like. We heard the language they spoke and how they prayed to their God. We also know that their kind occupies many of the villages around that have been razed. It is said that when people are pushed to a wall, they will push back, not out of bravery, but out of necessity. I fear what will happen now that we are near that point. Survival is not cowardice, it is instinct. But how long do you stay law-abiding when the law does not consider your blood worth avenging? How long do you bow to a system that rewards those who live outside it? Everywhere in Plateau is getting a taste of 21st century jihad. I heard that there are people who gain from the fire, people who watch it from high windows and sip their tea, people who call for peace but fund the bullets. And then there are people like me, Uren, who only ever wanted to farm, to live, and to love my land. The invaders have awakened something dangerous, not just pain, but memory. And memory, when it is soaked in blood, never forgets. I got this story from persecution.org, and I'll link to the story in the comments. But I wanted to read this story to you to ask the question, what does it mean that Jesus is our Savior? I think some of us have the juvenile idea that it means that He forgives us of the sins that we committed that weren't really all that bad to begin with, and then gives us a free ticket to heaven. But that's not really what it means. It means that Jesus was there. He was there, standing next to Uren. He was standing next to the brother who was struck down, next to the father who fell, next to the sisters who were murdered, and next to the mother whose soul did not have room to contain her grief. Jesus was there, and He is here. He knows the condition of our fractured souls. He knows how far humanity has fallen. He knows that part of you and me stands there with Uren, unable to comprehend the damage that has been done to us. And He also knows that part of you and me that dances with glee after murdering our fellow human beings, that part of us that looks down from a high window and sips our tea. And there's only one person in the entire universe who can make it okay. That person is Jesus. He's the only one who can put to death inside us that part of us that devalues our fellow human being. And He's the only one who can take us up in His arms and restore what the enemy has stolen, heal our wounds, and repair all the damage that has been done to us by a fallen world. So when you call Jesus your Savior, don't make the mistake of thinking that it's just about praying a prayer and getting a free ride to heaven. It's much deeper than that. Much, much deeper. Anyway, these are heavy thoughts, but it's a heavy matter that Jesus is our Savior. And I hope these thoughts are helpful. And I also want to say that I'm doing something new. If you would like to talk with me, if you would like me to pray with you, if you have questions, if you have suggestions, or if you just want somebody to talk to, I would like to invite you to join my guest list. I will open up a room on Zoom from time to time. And if you're on my guest list, I'll send you a notice ahead of time. And if you're interested in meeting, just ping me back and I'll send you the link and we can meet. And I would love to pray with you, listen to you, chat with you, whatever, get to know you. It would be my pleasure. Anyway, I'm Dwight Clow. Much love from my home to yours. Have a fantastic week.